Leo, the UFC fighter, slammed his locker shut. The loud clang bounced through the empty dressing room like a tiny thunderstorm. "I'm done with this circus," he muttered, running his hands through his sweaty hair. His hands were still taped from training, but the session had felt more like posing for pictures than real fighting. Leo was 32 years old. He had never lost a fight, 18 wins and 0 losses, and he was the champion. His shiny belt gleamed under the bright lights of the T-Mobile Arena, but right now it felt heavy, like a weight pressing down on him. He wasn't a real fighter anymore. He was like a living advertisement. People cared more about his pictures and videos on the internet than about his skill in the ring, and that made Leo feel hollow inside, like there was a hole where his love for fighting used to be. The room smelled like sweat and cleaning chemicals. Earlier that day, he had sat at a press conference, microphone shoved in his face. "What's your next big video? What's your next fight?" the reporters asked. Not one of them asked about his training, his strategy, or how he felt about fighting. His managers had given him lines to say so he would look cool and keep up his persona as the Rain, the fighter who was untouchable and always confident. But saying their words made Leo feel empty, like he was pretending to be someone else. He leaned back on the chair and stared at the ceiling. He remembered growing up in East LA, fighting in the streets. Back then, fights weren't about fame or money. They were about surviving. Every punch and block mattered. Now, everything he did was a show. Every punch, every kick, every post-fight celebration was planned for cameras. Every word he spoke had to be trendy, ready to go viral online. His perfect record, 18 wins and 0 losses, didn't feel like a crown anymore. It felt like a chain holding him down. When did he stop being a real fighter and start being an internet star? Coach Roy Beckett stepped into the room. He was almost 60, with gray stubble on his face and hands rough from years of wrapping fighters' hands. "You look like you're carrying the whole world, kid," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm just tired," Leo said. "All these cameras, videos, and hashtags, this isn't fighting. I'm out here posing like a model, not training like a real fighter." Roy didn't answer right away. He had seen champions burn out before. He had warned Leo years ago when Leo first went viral. "Glory's a hungry beast," he had said. Now he saw that the beast was starting to bite. "You need a break," Roy said finally. "Not from training, but from all this." He waved a hand at the world outside the dressing room. The cameras, the fans, the constant pressure. Leo shook his head. "If I take a break, UFC will be mad. My managers already have a plan for the next big fight. The machine won't stop." "Then tell the machine to wait," Roy said. "You're the one in the cage, Leo. You decide what kind of fighter you want to be." Leo paused and thought about it. For a moment, he remembered the kid he used to be. The one who trained until his hands bled, not for fans or money, but because he loved fighting. He nodded slowly. "I need a few days, Roy. Just a few days to think." Roy studied him, then nodded. "Take them. But don't just run away. Run towards something." The next morning, Leo drove out of Las Vegas. He left the bright lights and noisy streets behind. The desert stretched wide around him, all sun and sand and open sky. The quiet was so intense it made his thoughts feel extra loud. He turned off his phone for the first time in years. No notifications, no messages, no videos to post. Just quiet. After driving for a while, he reached a small town an hour outside Vegas. It had one gas station, a diner, and a main street that looked like it hadn't changed since the 1980s. He parked near a dusty park where kids played soccer and an old man fed pigeons from a bench. Leo sat on the tailgate of his black pickup, sipping coffee, watching life happen slowly. No fans were screaming for pictures. No cameras were chasing him. For the first time in months, it felt like he could breathe. As he wandered the quiet streets, a faded sign caught his eye, nailed to a wooden fence outside a small brick building. The sign said, "Traditional martial arts, inner strength, focus, peace." The words hit Leo like a punch. When was the last time he had felt focus? When had he felt peace? He stepped closer, curious despite himself. The building was small and plain, with peeling paint and a creaky door. Inside, it smelled like wood polish and liniment. not like the antiseptic gyms he was used to. A dozen kids practiced martial arts under the watchful eye of an older man. He moved among them, adjusting their arms and legs with gentle nudges. "Root yourself to the ground," he said in a calm, firm voice. "Your strength starts there, not in your fists." Leo stayed in the doorway, arms crossed. His first thought was dismissive. "These kids are just playing," he told himself. "No real stakes, no real fighting." But as he watched, something changed. The old man moved slowly, deliberately, but every step had power. The kids followed him carefully, their faces serious, not trying to show off, but trying to do it right. Leo hadn't seen this in years, not even with top UFC coaches. There were no trophies, no banners, no flashing lights. Just a calligraphed scroll with words Leo couldn't read, but somehow understood deep down. "Something catch your eye, son?" the old man asked, not looking at Leo, but still noticing him. Leo blinked. He wasn't used to being noticed without cameras or fame. "Just passing through," he said gruffly. "Saw the sign, thought I'd check it out." The old man finally looked up. His eyes were sharp, but kind, and they seemed to see right through Leo. "Checking out's fine. Staying's better. You look like you could use a place to stand still for a while." Leo laughed. Stand still. He was Leo Vega, UFC champion. Not some kid who learned to fight by standing still. But the word stuck in his head. When was the last time he really stood still? Not just with his body, but with his mind and heart. Leo leaned against the wall of the dojo. The hardwood floor gleamed under soft sunlight, coming through high windows. The air smelled clean and faintly like wood polish. The kids had finished their practice, leaving only the quiet rhythm of the instructor sweeping. Leo watched the old man, Hiroshi, move with calm confidence that grated on Leo's nerves. Everything about the room, from the lack of cameras to the slow, quiet pace, felt like stepping back in time, to before fighting became a performance. Leo felt a little superior, like a lion watching a small house cat. But there was something in the old man that Leo couldn't quite measure. When the last kid left, Leo walked up to Hiroshi. His sneakers squeaked against the polished floor. "So, you teach kids to fight, huh?" Leo said with a smirk. "Are they going to fight bad guys by standing still like statues?" Hiroshi didn't react immediately. Then he looked at Leo, steady and calm. His eyes were sharp but not angry. "It's not about fighting others," Hiroshi said. "It's about knowing where you stand first. You need that lesson more than most." Leo laughed, a short, sharp bark of laughter. He stepped closer, towering over Hiroshi. Up close, he saw the lines on Hiroshi's face, the lean body, the silver ponytail. But there was something more. A quiet power that didn't match his age. That hit him. This wasn't just any old teacher. This was Jason Statham. The famous man from old movies and internet memes. The one who had been a legend long before Leo was even born. Leo grinned, letting his arrogance flare. "Wait a second. You're Jason Statham. I grew up watching your movies. All those spin kicks and flips. But let's be real, old man. Fighting today isn't about slow moves. It's about speed and power. You probably used camera tricks to look good. Huh?" Jason didn't flinch. No flicker of pride, no anger. Just calm, quiet, unshakable. Leo's grin widened. "So what? You're living off old movies and tournaments? You probably can't keep up in a real fight today." Jason stepped closer, slowly, and his calm presence made Leo pause. There was no rush, no flash. Just strength. Real strength. "You underestimate me," Jason said softly. "Fighting isn't about looking good or being fast. It's about knowing yourself, knowing where you stand, and having patience. If you master that, you can face anyone, anytime, anywhere." Leo laughed nervously. "Yeah, right. I'm the champion. I've never lost a fight. What could you teach me?" Jason smiled faintly, the corners of his mouth barely moving. "You think winning is about never losing, but winning is about knowing who you are, and you don't." Leo felt a strange pang in his chest. He wasn't used to being spoken to like that. Not by a kid, not by a coach, not even by reporters. But Jason's words cut through all the noise in his head. I train every day, Leo said, trying to sound confident. I fight. I win. That's what matters. No, Jason said softly, shaking his head. It's not about winning fights. It's about winning yourself. If you can't win yourself, no title, no belt, no fame will ever satisfy you. Leo blinked. For the first time in years, he felt unsure. He didn't know what to say. Jason moved with slow, deliberate grace, and Leo realized he was watching a master. Every movement, every step, even the way he breathed, showed control, power, and peace. Leo felt a mix of awe and challenge. He wanted to prove himself, but also, he wanted to learn. I don't know if I can do that, Leo admitted quietly. You can, Jason said. But first, you must let go of everything you think you know. Your fame, your belt, your record. Stop performing, start learning. Only then will you fight with strength, not for show, but from your heart. Leo looked down, thinking. The UFC, the cameras, the social media, all of it. He felt tired, really tired. For the first time in his life, he thought maybe Jason was right. You want to learn? Jason asked, watching him carefully. Leo nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I do. Jason smiled faintly. Good. Tomorrow we start. Not with fights, not with belts. We start with standing still, feeling the ground under your feet, feeling yourself. That is where true strength begins. Leo took a deep breath. He had no idea what he was getting into, but for the first time in a long time, he felt a spark inside him. The same spark he had when he first started fighting as a kid in East LA. He put the broom against the wall. He moved slowly, like he had all the time in the world. You think standing still is easy, he said. His voice was calm but strong. Leo's jaw tightened. Try it. Middle stance for 10 minutes. If it's just standing, it will be easy for someone like you. Leo's pride flared. He was not going to let some old man teach him a lesson in a broken-down dojo. Fine, he said, stepping to the middle of the floor. 10 minutes. I've held planks longer than that for warm-ups. He got into the stance Jason showed him. Knees bent, back straight, hands resting lightly on his legs. It looked easy, like a light squat. This is nothing, he thought, already imagining himself laughing and proving this old-school exercise was too easy. The first minute was simple. His legs felt strong. He breathed normally, but by the second minute, his legs started to hurt. A small pain grew sharper, like knives twisting in his thighs. Sweat ran down his forehead. His lower back hurt too, a dull ache spreading everywhere. By minute 4, his legs shook. He was breathing fast and hard. He looked at Jason, expecting a smirk or a lesson, but Jason just watched him, calm and still like a rock. Leo's pride told him to keep going. He wanted to show he could finish it, but his body said no. At 4 minutes and 30 seconds, he jumped up. His face was red. He was breathing hard. This is stupid, he said, wiping sweat. What is this supposed to teach me? Fighting is about throwing punches, not standing like this. Jason didn't move. He came closer. His eyes stayed on Leo, calm but strong. You think fighting is just about hitting harder? Scaring people? That's not real fighting. The truth starts here, he said, tapping his chest and then his head. If you can't hold a stance, you can't stand your ground. Not in the cage, not in life. Leo clenched his fists. He was angry. His ego was hurt, and he felt weak. He had come to escape, not to be lectured by some old man. You want the truth, he said, stepping closer. Let's fight tomorrow. No cameras, no crowd, just us. Show me your tricks against a real fighter. The words hung in the air. Leo expected Jason to laugh or say no, but Jason just looked at him, calm, steady, like he could see Leo's doubts. The room was quiet. The building creaked softly. Then Jason nodded slowly. Okay, he said, his voice calm. Not to show who's better, but to show you what real fighting is. Tomorrow after class. Be here. Leo's heart beat fast. He had thrown down the challenge, and Jason accepted. Part of him wanted to brag to everyone, but another part felt the weight of Jason's calm. He felt a tiny flicker of doubt in his chest. Jason went back to sweeping. Leo felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not the rush of a big fight, not the excitement of being famous, but something real and raw. Like when he first stepped into a gym as a kid. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Maybe he would win quickly. Maybe he would get hurt and embarrassed. But for the first time in months, he felt alive. Something real was waiting for him. Leo stepped back. His shoes made soft scrapes on the floor. He left for his motel. Outside, the desert air was cool. The stars were bright. He didn't check his phone. He didn't care about the world. Tomorrow, in that small dojo, he would face something he couldn't control. And deep inside, he knew it might change everything. The next evening, the desert sun was low, painting the sky orange. Leo parked his pickup outside Jason's dojo. His heart was racing, not with fear, but with a restless fire. He couldn't stop thinking about the challenge. He had thrown down the gauntlet. Jason Statham himself had accepted it. Leo was ready to end this fast. He wanted to go back to Vegas with a story everyone would talk about. He stepped out of his truck. His gym bag hung over one shoulder. The fight gloves in the bag made him feel ready. The dojo looked old and small. The sign was faded. The brick walls were chipped. No loud crowds. No cameras. Just quiet. Leo's shoes crunched on the gravel as he pushed the door open. The hinges squeaked. Inside it was empty. The floor shined under one light. No kids practicing. No Jason yet. Just quiet waiting. Leo dropped his bag. It thudded on the floor. He started wrapping his hands. The tape felt rough on his knuckles. He had done this many times before a fight. But this was different. This wasn't the octagon. No cage. No referee. No fans cheering. Just him and an old man who wanted to teach a lesson. He put on his gloves. His fingers flexed. "This will be quick," he whispered, shadowboxing. His jabs cut through the air. He was Leo Vega, UFC champion. A machine built for fighting. Whatever Jason planned, it wouldn't last. The door creaked. Jason stepped in. He didn't make a big entrance. No fanfare. No entourage. Just a quiet, lean man in a faded black GI. His black belt looked older than Leo's whole career. Jason's hair was silver, pulled back. His face had lines, but was calm. His eyes were sharp, like he could see Leo's thoughts. He carried no gear. No gloves. Just confidence that filled the room. Jason nodded once and stepped onto the wooden floor. His bare feet were silent. "You ready, champ?" he asked. His voice was calm. No teasing. No challenge. Just a question. Leo bounced on his toes. His gloves creaked as he clenched his fists. "Born ready," he said. His usual confident, cocky tone came out. "Let's see if your movie moves work in real life." Jason didn't answer. He got into a stance. Knees bent slightly. Hands relaxed. No show-off. No tension. His stillness made Leo nervous. Leo shook it off and started circling. He looked for a weakness. Jason didn't move. Just watched. Calm. Silent. Like a ghost. Leo exploded forward. Fast and strong. He threw a jab, a cross, and a left hook. His punches were like ones that knocked fighters down in the UFC. But Jason wasn't there. He tilted his head, and the jab went past him. He flicked his wrist to block the cross. The hook missed. Jason moved easily. Smooth. Effortless. Leo's punches hit nothing. Leo growled. He tried a high kick at Jason's head. Just missed. Jason's eyes stayed on him. "Come on, old man," Leo shouted. His voice bounced off the walls. He attacked again. Punches and uppercuts, fast and hard. Another jab. Each strike meant to overwhelm Jason. Jason moved like water. Each punch and kick went around him. Nothing hit him. Leo was breathing fast. His chest heaved. Sweat burned his eyes. He felt control slipping. His frustration boiled like a fire he couldn't put out. "Fight back," Leo yelled. His voice cracked with anger. He swung a wild spinning back fist, a move that had made highlight reels and sent fans crazy online. Jason didn't flinch. He stepped aside, as calm as a still lake. Leo stumbled forward, his balance thrown off. His arms shook. His legs trembled. Every strike he threw was blocked or avoided. He realized, For the first time in a long time, he was not in control. Leo's pride screamed at him. He was supposed to be the champion. He was supposed to win. But Jason wasn't just defending. He was teaching. Every dodge, every block, every small movement was a lesson. Stay calm. Watch. Learn. Jason seemed to say with his eyes. Leo breathed harder. His chest felt heavy. His muscles screamed. But still he lunged again. A punch, a kick, another punch. Jason moved with the same calm grace. He barely needed to shift his weight. His old hands guided Leo's strikes away like a leaf in the wind. Leo's mind raced. He thought about Vegas, the fans, the fights, the money, the fame. None of that mattered here. All that mattered was the present moment. Every beat, every breath, every step. He had to focus. Not on winning, on surviving, on learning. He tried a low kick, aimed at Jason's legs. Jason stepped back slightly, then pivoted. Leo's foot missed by inches. Jason's eyes stayed locked on him, calm and unshaken. Too fast, too wild, Jason said quietly. Control your body. Control your mind. Leo's arms felt like lead. His gloves swung slower now. His legs burned like fire. But he didn't stop. He forced himself forward, throwing one more combination, slower now, controlled. Jason moved like water, smooth and effortless. Leo stumbled again, but this time he noticed something. Jason wasn't just dodging. He was letting Leo try, letting him make mistakes, showing him the truth about fighting. It wasn't about speed or power. It was about balance, control, awareness, mind over body. Leo stopped for a moment, breathing hard. His chest heaved. Sweat ran down his face. He looked at Jason. The old man didn't smile. He just nodded slightly. Calm, steady, powerful without showing it. Leo's mind cleared a little. He adjusted his stance. Slower, controlled, focused. He threw another series of punches. Not wild, measured, each strike deliberate. Jason moved again, smooth as ever, but now Leo saw the rhythm, the flow. He could anticipate the movement, feel the space, feel the timing. He threw a spinning kick. Jason barely moved, but Leo didn't mind. He felt the connection, the lesson in every move. Every block, every dodge was teaching him patience, awareness, balance, and respect. Fighting wasn't just about hitting hard. It was about understanding yourself and your opponent. Leo's anger faded. The fire in his chest changed. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about learning, feeling, growing. Every movement was alive. Every step mattered. Every breath was part of the fight. He circled Jason slowly now, controlled. Jason mirrored him, calm, steady. They moved together like water flowing. Strike, dodge, pivot, step, block. It wasn't chaos. It was rhythm, harmony. Leo threw one last punch. Jason stepped aside, guiding it away. Leo stumbled slightly, but smiled. He felt alive, real, free. He understood now what Jason had been teaching all along. Not just stance, not just fighting. Life, presence, strength, humility. The two stopped, breathing hard, sweat pouring. Silence filled the dojo. Leo's chest heaved. His gloves were heavy, his arms tired, but his mind was sharp, clear. He looked at Jason. The old man nodded. Just once. No words. No judgment. Just respect. Leo smiled faintly. I get it now, he whispered. Not to show off. Not to brag. Just true understanding. Jason nodded. Good, he said simply. Leo stepped back, dropped his gloves, breathed deeply. For the first time in a long time, he felt complete. Not because he won, not because he was a champion, but because he learned, because he faced the truth, because he felt alive. The dojo was quiet. Outside, the desert sky turned dark. Stars blinked softly. Leo left his gloves on the floor, nodded to Jason, and stepped outside. The air was cool, calm, real. He smiled faintly to himself. Tomorrow, the world could wait. Tonight, he understood something far bigger than fame, fights, or titles. Jason went back to sweeping. Leo looked at the stars. He felt alive, free, stronger, and ready for whatever came next. Jason stepped to the side, moving almost nothing, as Leo's fist flew past him. Leo had been sure he would land a punch, sure he would hit Jason, but he missed by only a tiny bit. Jason didn't make a sound. He didn't shout. He didn't swing back. He just stayed calm, standing there, watching. This made Leo even angrier. He felt his blood burn with rage. He had always been the strongest, the fastest, the champion. People cheered for him, cameras followed him, and he had a belt that said he was the best. But now, here in this quiet little dojo, with its shiny wood floors and old wooden beams, he couldn't hit Jason at all. It felt like he was chasing a shadow, trying to punch air. Leo roared and ran forward again, swinging his fists. But this time, his punches were sloppy. His anger made his movements clumsy. He swung with a right hook, then tried a knee strike, then an elbow. Each hit missed. Each miss made him feel weaker, more tired, and more frustrated. His legs felt like they were made of lead. His arms were heavy, and his chest burned as he panted. His mind was full of chaos. How is this happening? He thought. I'm the champ. I'm supposed to be the best. I can't be missing like this. He looked at Jason, hoping for some kind of sign, some weakness. But Jason's calm face showed nothing. His eyes were steady and sharp, like he was watching a puzzle more than a fight. The calmness was a knife cutting through Leo's anger. Each movement Leo made was wild, full of power but missing purpose. He could feel his timing slipping, his body growing tired. He tried another combination of punches, a fast flurry now, hoping one would connect. But his arms were heavy, and each punch flew past Jason, hitting only air. Jason moved with a grace that didn't seem human. He seemed to know what Leo would do before Leo did it. His body moved like water, smooth and flowing, perfectly balanced. Leo stumbled. His foot caught on the polished floor, and he almost fell. He panted harder, trying to steady himself, trying to make a move that would finally land. Then, suddenly, Jason moved. But it wasn't the kind of move Leo expected. It wasn't a big, angry strike meant to hurt him. It was a single, lightning-fast motion, a straight right hand aimed at Leo's chin. Leo didn't even see it coming. He only felt the air shift. The tips of Jason's fingers brushed just an inch from his jaw. That's all. But it was enough. Leo froze. His eyes went wide. His chest tightened, and his breath caught in his throat. That tiny motion, that almost touch, was like a giant hammer striking his mind. It wasn't a punch. It was a lesson. Jason's hand hung there for a moment, calm and steady, and then dropped back to his side. Leo staggered back, his legs shaking, his heart pounding not just from running and swinging punches, but from shock, from realization. He had been beaten, not by a stronger punch, not by rage, but by something much deeper. Jason's eyes held his, calm but piercing, like they could see through him, through everything he thought he knew about himself. You don't need more strength, Jason said quietly. His voice was soft, but it carried weight. You need to understand what strength really is. Leo's chest heaved. His fists were still clenched. His face was red, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and disbelief. He wanted to swing again, to hit Jason, to prove he wasn't finished. But his body wouldn't move. His arms burned, his legs felt like stone, and his mind was spinning. He had come expecting an easy victory, expecting to laugh at the old man, to show him that his time was over. But instead, he had been taught a lesson he didn't want. His punches did nothing. His speed, his power, his titles, they were meaningless here. Leo's eyes burned, not just from sweat, but from shame. The calm, precise movements of Jason, the patience he showed, had revealed something Leo hadn't wanted to see. His strength was only skin deep. His skill only surface level. The deeper strength, the true understanding of what it meant to be strong, was something Jason had, and Leo didn't. He felt small. Not in size, but in understanding. He grabbed his gym bag with hands that shook, slinging it over his shoulder. The straps dug into his skin. Each step toward the door made the hardwood creak under his weight. Outside, the desert night was cool. The stars shone sharply in the black sky, but they gave him no comfort. The wind whispered softly through the empty streets, but even that couldn't calm the storm inside him. He climbed into his truck. The engine rumbled under him, a quiet echo of the chaos in his chest. Leo drove without a destination. The road stretched ahead, long and empty, like a mirror of his thoughts. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white. His fist still itched to punch something, but he knew he couldn't. Every punch he threw in the dojo had missed. All the power, all the speed, all the titles, the UFC belt, the 18-0 record, the cheers, none of it meant anything now. He had thought winning was everything, that every knockout proved he was untouchable. But Jason had shown him something else. Strength wasn't just about hitting hard or winning fights. Strength was control, patience, understanding, and calm. The hours passed. The desert blurred past the headlights. He drove past gas stations, lonely diners, and signs pointing to cities he didn't care about. He didn't check his phone. He didn't call anyone. He didn't even want to hear anyone tell him he was the best. All the noise of the world, the fame, the cameras, the social media likes, was meaningless compared to the lesson Jason had given him. By the time the sun began to rise, painting the sky with pink and orange, Leo pulled over. He sat on the tailgate of his truck. The metal was cold against his legs, but he didn't move. He stared at the empty road stretching in front of him. For the first time in years, he didn't know what came next. He didn't know what fight to train for, what post to make, what title to chase. All he knew was that something inside him had to change, or he would keep feeling empty and lost. The next morning, Leo found himself back at the dojo. He didn't know why. Nobody had called him. Nobody had asked him to come. He sat in his truck in the parking lot for 20 minutes before he finally got out. He carried his gym bag, leaving his hands bare, without the wraps and gloves he usually wore. The screen door creaked as he stepped inside. The familiar smell of polished wood and liniment hit him like a memory. It made him pause. The dojo felt alive. Soft footsteps shuffled across the floor. The rhythmic breathing of a dozen students moving through their forms filled the room. Jason was there, watching over them, guiding them. Leo didn't announce himself. He didn't march in like he owned the place. He didn't stride to the center, ready to fight. He slid quietly into a corner, arms crossed, and watched. His face was serious, curious, but cautious. Jason didn't stop teaching. He didn't call Leo out. He didn't even look at him. He just continued, calm, steady, teaching the students. Leo felt something strange in his chest. A little bit of hope, maybe, or maybe fear. He didn't know yet. All he knew was that he was here to watch, to learn, to see if maybe he could understand what strength really meant. Leo stayed in that corner for a long time. He watched how Jason moved, how Jason's feet shifted, how his hands guided the students, how his eyes stayed sharp, yet kind. Jason's movements weren't big or flashy, but they were perfect. Every step, every motion, every gesture had a purpose. Leo noticed how Jason didn't waste energy. He didn't rush. He didn't get angry. Every punch he threw, every motion he made, was controlled. He moved like water, smooth and flowing. Leo remembered his own punches. How wild, how fast, how messy they had been. He had strength, yes, but he had no control, no patience, no understanding. For the first time, Leo felt that maybe being the strongest wasn't just about fighting. It was about knowing yourself, about knowing when to move, when to stop, when to wait. He thought about the night before, about the punches that missed, about the almost touch of Jason's hand that had frozen him. That tiny, simple move had taught him more than any fight, more than any belt, more than any title. It had shown him that strength was calm, strength was control, strength was patience. He watched Jason as the students practiced. He watched how Jason corrected them gently, how he smiled when they did well, how he stayed calm when they made mistakes. Leo felt something inside him begin to shift. The anger, the pride, the need to prove he was the best, it began to fade. In its place, a small spark of understanding grew. He wanted to learn. He wanted to be better. Not just stronger, not just faster, but wiser. He wanted to understand what real strength meant. Leo stayed in that corner until the class ended. He didn't speak. He didn't ask Jason for anything. He just watched, learning silently. And for the first time in his life, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Humility. He felt small, yes, but not in a bad way. Small in the sense that he knew he had a lot to learn. He knew that his strength alone was not enough. He knew that if he wanted to be truly strong, he had to change. Jason finally dismissed the class. The students left, chatting and laughing, while Leo stayed in the corner, thinking. Jason didn't say a word to him. He didn't need to. Leo understood now. He would come back every day if he had to. He would watch. He would learn. And one day, maybe, he would be strong in the way Jason was strong. Not just in the way he could hit, but in the way he could move, think, and understand. The lesson had been simple, but powerful. Strength wasn't about fists or belts or titles. Strength was about patience, control, and knowing yourself. Leo felt it in his chest, deep down, and he knew he would never forget it. He picked up his gym bag, slung it over his shoulder, and stepped outside. The sun was higher now, warming the desert, shining on the quiet streets. Leo took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs. He didn't know what the future would bring. He didn't know if he would fight again tomorrow or the next day. But he knew one thing. He wanted to be better. He wanted to learn. And that was more important than any belt, any title, or any applause. Leo got into his truck and started the engine. The rumble felt different now. Not like anger or frustration, but like a quiet promise. A promise to himself to become stronger in the right way. The road stretched ahead, long and empty, but it no longer felt frightening. It felt like a chance to grow, to learn, and to understand what strength really was. And so Leo drove, thinking, learning, ready to begin a new kind of journey. Not just to fight, but to become truly strong. He moved slowly among the students, going from one to another. He helped them fix their stances, adjusting their feet and arms. Sometimes he gently moved a kid's hand. Sometimes he nudged a shoulder or knee. His voice was soft and steady, like a calm river flowing through rocks. "Feel the ground under your feet," he said to a tall, skinny kid who was wobbling. "It's not just your feet. Your whole body starts from the ground. Everything comes from there." The words were meant for the kid, not Leo, but they touched him anyway. He couldn't help but watch. The students were trying hard, even when they made mistakes. Their faces were full of concentration. Their movements were awkward, but they didn't give up. Leo felt something in his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. It was a kind of longing, a little like envy. These kids weren't fighting to be famous. They weren't fighting for likes, followers, or applause. They were fighting just to be better than they were yesterday. When the class ended, the students left the room, chatting and laughing as they went out into the morning sunlight. Leo stayed behind, leaning his back against the wall. He watched Jason sweep the floor, moving slowly, rhythmically. Every sweep of the broom was calm and measured, like he had all the time in the world. The silence between them was heavy. It wasn't angry, and it wasn't uncomfortable, but it felt important, like the air before a big storm. Leo's pride whispered that he should leave, that he should go back to Vegas and the life he knew. But his feet wouldn't move. He thought about the punch he had thrown the day before. He remembered how Jason's fingers had hovered just an inch from his chin and stopped. The question that stayed with him was simple and strange. Why didn't he hit me? Finally, Leo stepped forward. His voice was quiet, almost scared. "I want to learn," he said. The words felt strange in his mouth, like they belonged to someone else. "Not just fighting, not the stuff I already know. I want to understand why you stopped that punch." Jason stopped sweeping and looked at Leo. His eyes were calm but sharp. It felt like he was searching, measuring, thinking. The silence lasted so long that Leo could feel it on his skin. It was heavy and quiet all at once. Finally, Jason nodded. It was a small movement, but it felt like it carried a lot of meaning. "All right," he said, "but it's not about punches. It's about what's behind them. Are you ready for that?" Leo didn't answer right away. His jaw was tight. His mind was still trying to put together everything from yesterday. All the questions, all the confusion. Then he nodded. That small nod was a choice. It wasn't a win, and it wasn't a loss. It was just a choice. To step into something unknown, something new. The next morning, Leo arrived at the dojo before the sun had even risen. The desert outside was dark and still, wrapped in shadows. The air was crisp and cold against his skin. He had turned his phone off, and ignored all the messages waiting for him. For the first time in years, he wasn't the famous UFC fighter with a mask and persona. He wasn't performing. He was just Leo, a plain guy wearing a stiff white uniform, standing shoulder to shoulder with teenagers half his age. The dojo was quiet. There were no cameras, no crowds, no fans screaming for him. Only the soft creak of the wooden floor and the quiet sounds of the world waking up outside. Jason started him at the very beginning. The stances, the moves, the breathing, everything he had dismissed as kid stuff before. "Stand here," Jason said, pointing to a spot on the floor. "Middle stance, like yesterday. But this time, focus on your breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel it. Don't force it." Leo wanted to scoff. He had been throwing punches since he was 12 years old. By 16, he was knocking out grown men. He had been a professional fighter for years, but something inside him stopped him from laughing. He dropped into the stance and tried to follow Jason's instructions. His breaths were uneven. His mind kept wandering to all the fights he had won, all the fights still ahead. His legs began to shake by the 3rd minute. His back ached by the 5th. But Jason didn't let him quit this time. "Stay with it," Jason said calmly, circling him. His voice was firm but gentle. "Your body is talking to you. Are you listening?" Leo's jaw clenched. Listening. All he could hear was his muscles screaming, his heart thumping loudly in his chest, and the little voice in his head saying this was pointless. He should be somewhere else, training for the next fight. He should be lifting weights, sparring, preparing for the next big title. But he stayed. He breathed. He shook. He sweated. And finally, Jason nodded. "Good. That's a start." Day after day, Leo came back. The routine was both exhausting and strangely calming. Jason taught him to move slowly, carefully, deliberately. Step, pivot, shift, balance. Not for show, but for control. Every time Leo rushed or let his pride take over, Jason would quietly say, "You're fighting yourself again." Not angry, not judging. Just a simple truth. The hardest part for Leo wasn't the physical pain. He had pushed his body to the limit many times. He had run miles until his lungs burned and sparred until his knuckles bled. The real fight was quiet. It was the moments when no one was around. No crowd. No opponent. Just him and his own thoughts. Jason never lectured or preached. He asked questions that made Leo think. "Why do you move like that?" he asked one morning as Leo stumbled through a simple routine. "Is it habit, or is it really you?" Leo didn't have an answer. For years, he had been moving for cameras, fans, and the highlight reel. Every punch, every kick, had been calculated to look good, to go viral. Now, without the stage, without the audience, he felt small and exposed, like a kid learning to walk again. But slowly, something changed. The questions, the silence, the endless repetition of simple moves began to quiet his mind. He started noticing little things. The way his feet touched the floor. The way his breathing flowed with his steps. The way his mind became calm when he stopped trying to prove something. One morning, a month into training, Leo moved through a basic form, a series of steps and strikes that Jason had drilled into him. The dojo was silent. The kids hadn't arrived yet. The sun was rising, sending long shadows across the wooden floor. Leo's movements were slow, careful, and deliberate. Each step was rooted, each breath steady. For the first time in years, his mind was clear. No thoughts about titles, about wins, about what people expected. There was only the floor under his feet, the rhythm of his breathing, and the small ache in his muscles that felt more like connection than pain. When he finished, he stood still, eyes closed, a faint smile on his face. It reminded him of being a kid, back when fighting was fun and simple before the belts, cameras, and fame. Jason watched silently. His arms were crossed. His face didn't give away much, but his eyes were warm. "You felt it, didn't you?" he asked softly. "That's what it's about. Not the fight, not winning. Just being here now." Leo opened his eyes. The smile faded, but the feeling stayed. "Yeah," he said quietly and honestly. "I felt it." Jason nodded. "That's the start, Leo. Not the end, not even close. But it's where everything real begins." Leo stood there, his uniform damp with sweat. The morning light filled the dojo. He didn't know where this path would lead. He didn't know if it would make him a better fighter or just a better person. But for the first time in years, he wasn't running from questions. He was ready to see what came next. Back at his motel, the world started creeping in again. His phone, silent for weeks, buzzed with a voicemail from his manager Marco. "Leo, where are you? UFC wants you back for the biggest fight of the year. Pay-per-view numbers, viral hype, the works. Call me." Leo let the phone drop onto the bed. The words "biggest fight" and "viral hype" hit him hard. They reminded him of press conferences, scripted trash talk, and the endless churn of social media. He had left that behind, or thought he had. But the UFC didn't stop for anyone. The next day, he drove back to the city. The desert stretched wide around him, the horizon shimmering in the heat. His truck's radio stayed off, keeping the silence so he could think. Marco's message played in his mind. Go back to the cage, to the life he knew, or stay on this new path that felt real but fragile. He thought of Jason's lessons. Root yourself. Breathe. Listen to your body. Could these lessons hold up in the bright lights of the arena, where every move was judged? By the time he reached his small apartment overlooking the strip, he had made his decision. Leo pulled into the parking lot, the city buzzing faintly in the distance. The lights of the strip blinked far below, but he didn't look. He sat in the truck for a long moment, letting the air conditioning hum around him. The decision wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about fame. It was about what felt real, what made him feel connected again. For years, he had run from doubts, from losses, from the pressure of being a champion. He had run from the parts of himself he didn't like. But Jason's dojo had shown him something different, something simple, something real. It wasn't about punches or belts. It was about presence, about being alive in the moment, feeling your body, listening to it, not fighting against it. He thought about the small students he had watched, how earnest they were, how they tried their best, and how they didn't care about anyone watching. He thought about the feeling in the dojo, the quiet, the creak of the floor, the way his body finally felt like his own. Finally, Leo opened the truck door and stepped out. The desert wind hit his face, carrying the faint smell of sagebrush and sand. He took a deep breath. It wasn't about the arena. It wasn't about being the best in the world. For the first time in years, it was about him. Just Leo, standing in the moment, breathing, feeling alive. He called Marco back. His voice was calm, steady, without the old loud showy attitude he used to have. "Set up the fight," he said. "But no big show, no flashy entrances, no videos, no fans screaming for a spectacle, just a real fight. Plain and simple." Marco laughed at first, thinking Leo was joking. "Come on, Leo, you're the rain. Everyone loves the big show, the excitement, the cheering, the lights. The fans want a performance, not just a fight." But Leo spoke firmly. His voice was serious, with no room for argument. "I'm done performing. I'm done being a showman. It's a fight, not a movie. I want it real. Just make it happen." For a few seconds, there was silence on the phone. Marco was quiet, thinking. You could hear the hesitation, the crackle of uncertainty. Then, finally, he agreed. "Okay, I'll make it happen," Marco said slowly. Word spread quickly, like wildfire. By the evening, X was buzzing with rumors. People couldn't stop talking. Leo Vega is back. Title fight coming soon. The rain returns. Messages flew across social media. People were excited. Fans were hyped. But Leo didn't care. He didn't look at the posts. He didn't read the comments. He didn't need to. The fight was coming. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't about what the world wanted to see. It was about him. The weeks leading up to the fight were different from anything Leo had ever experienced. There were no flashy training videos, no cameras following him everywhere, no fancy equipment, no bright lights. He trained at Jason's dojo, not the high-tech UFC facility. The clanging of heavy weights was replaced by the soft thump of his feet on the wooden floor. The loud background music was gone, replaced by the quiet rhythm of his own breathing. Jason didn't talk about the fight. He didn't ask about Leo's opponent, a Brazilian fighter named Rafael Costa, who was famous for being strong, relentless, and tricky with submissions. Jason focused only on the basics: stance, balance, and breathing. "You don't fight the other person," Jason said one morning, moving slowly as Leo followed. His voice was calm, almost quiet. "You fight the moment. Stay in it. Every second counts. The rest will take care of itself." Leo nodded, listening carefully. His legs ached from the training, and his arms were sore from endless repetitions. But Jason's words stayed in his mind. They rooted themselves inside him, like seeds that were beginning to grow into something strong. Fight night finally came. The T-Mobile Arena was alive with energy. Lights flashed. People shouted. Fans screamed, waving their arms and cheering. The air was thick with excitement. Leo stood in the tunnel, gloves on, shorts plain black instead of neon like before. There was no music, no pyrotechnics, no big flashy show. He walked out alone, step by step, eyes fixed only on the octagon ahead. The crowd cheered loudly at first, then their cheers faltered when they realized there was no show. But Leo didn't care. He wasn't there for them. Not tonight. He was there for himself, for the boy he had once been, for the man he was becoming, for the fighter who wanted to be more than just famous. As he walked to the octagon, he caught a glimpse of Jason in the stands. Jason was sitting quietly, his face calm and unreadable, but Leo felt his presence like a steady anchor in the storm of noise. Rafael Costa entered next. His muscles were huge, his grin wide, and he played to the crowd like a predator. He flexed, raised his arms, and his eyes locked on Leo. He looked ready to attack. The crowd roared even louder than before. The referee called them to the center. His words were a blur. Leo barely heard them. He was too busy repeating Jason's words in his mind. Stay in the moment. Feel the ground. Breathe. The bell rang. Costa charged. Fists flying, body moving like lightning. Leo didn't flinch. He didn't match Costa's fury. He moved light, smooth, like water flowing over rocks. Costa's punches came fast. Jab, cross, low kick, but Leo slipped them all. He didn't try to show off. He didn't roar or yell. He stayed calm, measured, precise. Costa tried to grab him and take him down. Leo balanced perfectly. His feet were firm, his body centered. He countered with a sharp knee to Costa's midsection, not to show off, but to create space and control the fight. Costa came again, relentless, pushing and grappling for a hold. But Leo moved with clarity he had never felt before. He saw openings, felt the rhythm, and moved with purpose. Each moment was a choice, each move a response, not a performance. In the second round, Costa landed a hook that glanced off Leo's jaw. Pain shot through his head. The crowd gasped, sensing a shift. But Leo didn't panic. He remembered Jason's voice in his head. Listen to your body. Stay in the moment. Leo took a deep breath. He reset his stance, waited, and focused. Costa came at him again, arms reaching for a clinch. Leo felt the shift, moved under him, spun, and locked Costa's arm in a smooth kimura. His grip was firm but careful, not cruel. Costa struggled, face twisted in effort, but Leo tightened the hold just enough. Seconds later, Costa tapped the mat. The fight was over. The arena erupted. The crowd screamed. But Leo didn't raise his fists. He didn't play to them. He released Costa immediately when the referee signaled the end. Leo stood calm, even, eyes steady. Costa nodded at him, a flicker of respect in his gaze. Leo nodded back. No words were needed. The referee lifted Leo's hand. The belt was his. But this time it felt different. It wasn't a trophy to flaunt. It wasn't a prize for the fans. It was a moment he had earned, not as the reign, not as a showman, but as himself. In the post-fight interview, the lights were blinding. Microphones crowded his face. Reporters asked the usual questions about the next big fight, the next big moment. Leo stood there, sweating, and looked past the cameras. His eyes found Jason in the stands. Jason's figure was quiet, small in the sea of noise, but Leo could feel him there. The reporter shoved a microphone closer, asking for a soundbite, something to make headlines. Leo took a deep breath. His voice was calm, steady, grounded. I used to think fighting was about dominating people, about making them afraid of you, he said. But I learned it's different. Fighting is about controlling yourself, about knowing who you are when the noise stops. That's what this fight was for me. The crowd was quiet for a moment, listening. Then cheers erupted again. Some were excited, some confused. But Leo didn't care. He had said what he needed to say. Not for the cameras, not for the fans, but for himself. The reporter tried to follow up with another question, but Leo stepped away. The microphone dropped to the floor. He left the octagon and made his way to the stands where Jason waited. "You fought like you meant it," Jason said quietly, his voice almost lost in the roar of the arena. "Not for them, for you." Leo nodded. A weight lifted from his chest. "I heard you out there," he said softly but surely. "Every step, every breath, I felt it." Jason's smile widened just a little, enough to show he was proud. "That's the real fight, Leo," Jason said. "Always has been." As the cheers faded into the background, Leo stood beside Jason. The lights dimmed, the noise softened. He didn't know what came next. Another fight? More training? Something else entirely? But for the first time, he wasn't afraid of the unknown. He had stepped into the octagon, yes, but also into a part of himself he was just beginning to understand. A part that was worth more than any belt, more than any show, more than anything the crowd could cheer for. Wow, what a journey. This story wasn't just about punches, kicks, or winning. It was about something bigger. It was about growing, learning, and changing. It was about realizing that a fight isn't just against another person. It's a fight inside yourself. Jason didn't win by being strong. He won by being calm, patient, and wise. That moment when he stopped a punch an inch from Leo's chin, it gave chills. Jason wasn't trying to knock Leo out or show how strong he was. He was trying to awaken him, to help him see something important. And Leo changed too. He went from a man showing off, desperate for applause, to someone brave enough to start over quietly. He trained without cameras, without lights, without music. He trained in sweat, in silence, in patience. He learned to listen to his body, to control his mind, to fight only when necessary. He learned that strength isn't just in muscles. It's in stillness, focus, and courage. That courage, quiet, humble, patient, is stronger than any punch, any knockout, any title belt. Leo realized something else. Fighting wasn't about proving himself to the world. It was about proving himself to himself. Every movement, every step, every breath mattered. Each second was a choice. He had to be present, aware, patient. That was the fight he had been training for, even before the first bell rang. The arena may have been full of noise, full of people screaming for a show. But Leo had found silence. He had found clarity. He had found himself. He walked out of the cage that night different from the way he had walked in. Not just a fighter, not just a champion, but someone who understood what it truly meant to win. To win wasn't about the crowd cheering. It wasn't about the bright lights, the flashy entrances, or the highlight videos. Winning was about calmness, focus, control, and understanding your own heart. Leo looked at Jason one last time before leaving the arena. Jason's eyes were warm, proud. Leo smiled, feeling light, free, and ready for whatever came next. Maybe there would be another fight. Maybe more training. Maybe something completely new. But he wasn't afraid anymore. He had stepped through a door, not just into the octagon, but into himself. And that was a victory bigger than anything else. The crowd's cheers faded, the lights dimmed, and Leo stood there with Jason, feeling something deeper than a belt, deeper than applause, deeper than fame. He had found something more important. He had found himself. And that night, Leo Vega, the reign was gone. In his place was a man who had learned what it truly meant to fight. Not for glory, not for fans, not for applause, but for himself. He had stepped into a fight, and he had stepped into life.